Hey guys, Finally Sleeps here. Today we're going to talk about wrapping a car in vinyl. It's an alternative to repainting. It's really not that difficult. It's really cost effective as long as you're willing to put in the work and you have the tools necessary to do it. Okay, so one of the first things you're going to need to do is take a look at your paint and decide whether or not you want to do how important it is to you to clean up any imperfections, because they will show through on the vinyl. Another thing to consider here is the more prep work you do, the more damage you're going to do to your existing paint, and you're going to have to, if you ever pull the wrap off, you're not going to have decent paint behind it. But any imperfections will show through. Paint chips, you may see them come through the wrap. So it just depends on how permanent you want this and how much detail you want to go into the wrap. Okay, so this fender is ready to go. It's smooth and ready for the vinyl to be laid on. Next step is you're gonna clean it really good. We're gonna rub it down with alcohol just to make sure there's nothing left on it, no anything that's gonna keep the vinyl from adhering. And then the next step is to measure out the fender, and we're gonna cut a piece of vinyl just a little bit larger than what we need. A little bit, I mean a few inches bigger than what you need. You don't wanna waste a bunch of the vinyl. So here we are cleaning the fender, getting it ready to go on. Just using rubbing alcohol in a spray bottle to get it clean. The one big thing is you need to clean along all of the edges where the wrap is going to wrap around before it gets cut. If you don't get all that dirt off around the edge, it will start to peel up eventually. So the next step, once you've got your piece measured, is to peel the back off so that you're just dealing with a giant piece of vinyl.
Stretch it your way.
We're gonna hold it tight.
Stretch it.
Stretch it.
I feel like you need to come your way. I have a lot of room. You go up. Lift your piece up just a little bit. My way.
Now, if it does go down, you can peel it up a little bit. It's not a permanent stick. And as you can see here, this looks pretty nasty when it first lays on. And we'll start laying it in, no different than like with window tint. We're gonna start stretching it in from one area. Air bubble, get the air bubble out. And the squeegee that he's using to put this down with has a felt edge on it. You're gonna make sure you have a felt edged squeegee so we're not scratching the vinyl as we lay it down. And we're just trying to get this piece down along all of the edges, smooth with no wrinkles and no bubbles. There's a little bit of stretch involved, and then we'll pop the heat gun in and try to get any fingers out that kind of work their way in. But there's no double curve on this, so as you can see, this is already smooth all the way up through here. There are two major types of vinyl wrap. There is cast, which is what we're dealing with right now, and calendared. Calendared is a little bit thicker. It has better finishes. It looks more like paint. But the problem with the calendared compared to the cast is it's not as forgiving. It requires heat to stretch, and the cast, like we have right here, will stretch without heat. Heat gun is not required. You can use it when we get into trouble, but as you can see how smooth this is right now, This is going on a lot quicker, a lot quicker. All right, so the next step here is, now that we've got it all glassed onto the fender, is to take and cut along the body lines. You want a small cut. You don't want a ton of vinyl sticking over. If you have too much vinyl across that's wrapping down into it, it will not stick and you get into problems. I know more vinyl seems better, but you do just want a really small, I mean, no larger than 1/8 of an inch around the edge of all the body lines. And we're just making sure we've got a really sharp edge on the X-Acto to do it. What he said, the longer the cut, if it's bigger than that 1/8 of an inch, it creates more tension because of the pull, and it has been prone to pull up over time. So now we're peeling it back. I think all in all, even with the prep and cleanup, right now we're at about 20 minutes in this fender of laying it down. Andrew's doing a pretty good job on this one. It won't go this quick on your first one, but again, we're starting out with a pretty easy panel. Not a whole lot of curves in it. We never once had to get the heat gun out to do anything, and it's all in one piece. We don't have any seams or any secondary cuts. You want to be able to do this in as minimal dust-free environment as you can possibly get to. The other thing is I said that you can peel it up and put it back down if you get into a situation, but the more you peel it up and put it back down, the more likely you are to pick up grit and gravel, and then it's going to put like little bumps in it underneath. It's going to look like it's prepubescent acne something, and you don't want that. So down and finished in one swatch as best you can is always best. You just need to warm the vinyl so that it will stretch around the curve. If you get the vinyl too close to it, you get it too hot, you can burn the vinyl, and that's not what you want. We're just trying to warm it up enough so that we can get it around that edge and into the place it needs to be. Nicely done. Okay, so we've got this all measured and cut and all laid down and glassed, and the edges are all smoothed out. We're using heat to go along the edge and curl it around the edge of the body panel. This is one spot you have to have heat to do it. If you don't use heat around the corner, it's not a ton of heat, but as long as you don't have it warm, it's not going to last and it will start to peel up. So you can see, just wrapping it down around here, this tool right here is just a little spud bar, tiny little wedge, and all of these came in a kit on Amazon. They're cheap, maybe 20 bucks for the full kit. I'll put the description and the link in the video description.
Came with squeegees and gloves.
All right, there it is. Fender all done and complete. Cleanup, start to finish, the whole deal, less than 30 minutes. Okay, one more thing to consider when you're doing this is when you buy the wrap, you'll buy it in a roll. You know, you can get it anywhere from $300 to $500, depending upon the quality and brand of the wrap. You don't want to waste the wrap, and there's times where you're going to want to use additional pieces and will seam the pieces together rather than one giant piece for an entire body panel. A door, one piece. Bumpers could be 10, 15 pieces depending upon how many body lines there are and how well things piece together. You can see here on the bumper, there's multiple pieces. So if we hit the light just right, there is a seam here, that comes along where it matches up with the body line, so that this is a separate piece. There's a seam here. This is all one piece. Each of these inlays, these are separate pieces. And if you get right up on it, you can see a little bit of the seam where the two pieces of vinyl overlay. There's another seam that goes down along, just so you're not wasting vinyl, and we wrap it. The one big thing you need to avoid is double curves. Again here, spoiler, one piece, second piece, seam is right along the body edge. Once you come in here and look around, there's another seam here that runs down all along the window. It's seamed up here as well, so that across the top coming down to the B pillar, there's another seam. The next step as you go through here is you want to make sure all of your seams overlay backwards. So there's an order to laying the vinyl down so that the seams overlap. So as you're driving down the road, the water goes this way across because this piece is on above this piece. You don't want the water coming this way and pulling in behind it. It can cause problems. So there's order of operations as you lay this down on the car. Okay, so we're moving on to the front end, and we'll show you the technique that requires an inlay and knifeless tape. So this body line that runs right here, we're gonna make a seam that goes along that. So this inlay will go first. There'll be one piece across there, then we'll do these little eyelet pieces. That way, when the next piece comes in and overlays it where the gap is, when water hits the front end and it rolls up, it will go along the seam rather than laying this on first and this coming over, because then it would go up under it. So this is about order of operations. So this is going to be the first piece, and we're going to use the knifeless tape to get the edge the way we want it. All right, so we're going to lay knifeless tape down first along the seam. Now all this is it's a piece of like filament that cuts it, that is inside a piece of tape. So now what you do is you lay this along the line that you want the vinyl to be cut. Then we wrap the vinyl over top of this and then peel the filament up through this, and it cuts the vinyl on a straight line, even with the seam of the body panel. So the vinyl's laid down right over top of the knifeless tape. The knifeless tape is right underneath of it along that edge. All right, so here we see the vinyl coming along, and the knifeless tape comes out, and here's the top edge. And if we get right in on it, you can see it's just a really tiny filament that's gonna roll through there.
You bend it over and you can pinch it down and you just yank it.
Do it. Okay, so it's a good yank to start. And now we've got the filament coming through. And then
you just pull it at an angle. You don't pull it up.
Right. Pull it down close to the car. All right.
Edging it. And you just pull the filament out. Both pieces. Again, you pull it away from the wrap so it don't peel it up.
Right. There it is. Knifeless tape is out. And we have a nice clean edge all along that body line that will smooth down, and you're good to go. Knifeless tape. Now, when we overlay the next piece of vinyl, we'll do the same thing. We'll lay another layer of knifeless tape along this edge.
Line the green part up with
The edge of the vinyl.
yeah, so it's overlapping by like
And then
a meter or two.
the next one will go over it, and you'll pull the knifeless tape up again, and that's how you create your seam along the edge.
Where's my exact? Yep.
There it is, the inlay done.
Start in the middle, work your way out.
All right, we just laid this down over the hood, measured it. It is a giant piece. Now on the big pieces like this for the hood, you're gonna start in the middle, go down from the middle, and then we're gonna work our way out along the body lines across the middle. Now, the big thing with a giant piece like this is you need to go through it, make sure the hood is really clean, all the bumps are out of it. You can clean it. There's multiple ways to clean the hood before you start laying this stuff down. You can do a clay bar, get everything off, use the alcohol, get any little bits or small imperfections out, dust, everything needs to be off, because the hood's one of those parts of the car that reflects everything in the sun, so any imperfections in the hood really stand out. We also pulled out, see if I can see where they're at, the right there, yeah, the windshield washer jets, all that had to come out so that we had a smooth surface to work with. Now there is a little bit of a double-edged curve on the hood, so as you can see, these fingers are starting to work in these big bubbles. As we start to move that out, we'll stretch and heat to get those the rest of the way out.